In this class, we are going to study role of domestic, wild, pet, and laboratory animals, as well as birds, in the transmission of zoonotic infections. As we all know, Earth is shared by large number of animal species with their diversity being scattered across the globe at different geographical locations. Different kinds of species inhabit, and accordingly, we expect different kinds of zoonotic infections. Today's class is all about these animals. You just see this cartoon. When we talk about the diseases in the humans, the human disease that result due to the encounters with the animals, and these animals, they play a diverse role. Let it be an urban setup, a rural setup. When we take the ecosystem as a whole, there is an omnipresence of these pathogens in the nature, and we need to understand the contributions of different sectors in detail. Archaeogeological categorization of the animals categorizes the animals and birds into three different categories. Number one, those pets. These are small animals that are kept in homes as a companion animal. It constitutes the dog, cat, and guinea pig, and small birds. The second category is the farm animals and the livestock. These animals are reared for a particular economic purpose. They are mostly the domesticated farm animals such as cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, pig, poultry also. The last category is the beast of burden or the pack animals. These animals are used in the army or for the other developmental work to carry the luggage or the load. Horse, camel, mule, donkey, these are all the animals. These are the pack animals and the beast of burden. So like this, we do have the categorization of the domesticated animals into the pet or the companion animals, the farmed animals, livestock, and beast of burden and pack animals. So these categories of the animals, they do contribute in the occurrence of the zoonosis in their own capacity. For example, cattle and buffalo, anthrax and FMD could be transmitted from them. Goats, brucella, goat pox, horse, glanders, JE, sheep, brucellosis, looping ill, camels, brucellosis, camel pox, pigs, erysipeloid, and rabies, deer species, the tularemia, rotaviral gastroenteritis, elephants, TB, pox, dogs, pasteurellosis, rabies, cat scratch fever and rabies, birds, tuberculosis, influenza, rodents, plague, and lymphocytic meningitis, rabbits, tularemia, acute fever. This is an indicative list to indicate that these are some of the zoonotic infections that could be transmitted to the humans by these categories of domesticated or the farmed animals. When it comes to the wild animal species, they are known to transmit large number of zoonotic diseases, and especially in the realm of the changing demographic patterns. There is increased travel of the human being. Today we are talking about the global village. In that context, so there is increased stress on these animals. There is man-animal conflict, man, domestic, the wild animal, domestic animal, and then human transmissions can occur through the interfaces that occur at the wild animal and domestic animal territories. Expanding the human population has put a lot of pressure on these wild creatures. That's why there is a destruction of the habitats of these wild animals, leading to entry of these animals into the newer territories, and these newer territories, when these wild animals they visit, and that would lead to the transmission of the infection from that site. There is man-animal conflict, as I told you, due to the developmental work or due to the recreational activities when human being enters into the forest. So there is man-animal conflict, or whenever their house is displaced, territory is displaced, these animals enter into the human territory. So leading to the encounters, and these encounters are the perfect interfaces for the transmission of the zoonotic infections. Livestock also act as the reservoir of the infection. From livestock, the infection could spread to the wild animals, and from again wild animals to the another kind of domesticated animals, or to the directly to the human being. The transmission pathways are open. Both free-ranging and captive kind of wild animals, they do suffer from one or the other kind of zoonotic infections, acting as source of infection to the human being. In addition to this, there are huge number of arthropods that harbor these zoonotic infections, and they will transmit the infectious agent to the human being, and even vice versa also. When we talk about the viral zoonotic pathogens, the list is here, but let it be the adenoviruses, the arboviruses, or even the rabies, the encephalitis group, and all those things, they to get transmitted to the human, either directly from the wild animals or through a intermediary animal from wilderness to the domestic or the rural or the urban cycles. These are the transmission pathways. The corona, what we are talking about, the pandemic spread, one of the hypotheses is that this the SARS-CoV-2 spread from the bats through an intermediary step, maybe a ferret or a pangolin, whatever it is, until it is clear. These from these intermediary animals, they will spread to the human population. This is how the zoonotic pathogens from the wild, they will spread, leading to the epidemics and the pandemics. Different groups of these wild animals, there are large number of wild animals. They could be the carnivores, they could be herbivores, they could be the omnivores, the rodents, birds. So wide group of the wild animals, they act as the source of zoonotic pathogens, leading to the human infections. For example, again, it's an indicative list to indicate that monkey could transmit yellow fever, monkeypox. Wild ungulates can transmit the sarcocystitis. Captive animals, they can transmit the toxoplasmosis, leptospirosis. Most importantly, the captive carnivores, and especially the canids and felids, raccoons, brucellosis, deer species, and other ruminants, the tuberculosis. The rodents, they can transmit the yersiniosis. Birds can transmit the tuberculosis, salmonellosis, campylobacteriosis. This is an indicative list to indicate that there are large number of zoonotic infections that could be transmitted from the wildlife to the human being. So this table shows the disease agent, associated animal, current geographic occurrence, and principal mode of transmission to the human being. Majority of the zoonotic infections that are spilled from animal to the human being, wild animals to the human being, they are worldwide, but some infections are localized to certain locations. Okay. American tick fever, anthrax, campylobacteriosis, cinuriasis, cryptosporidias, dactylophimasis. These are all the infections. They could be transmitted from different kinds of wild animals to the human being, either through a direct contact or through a vector or through food and water. Again, the list continues here. The Dirophylaris, Echinococcus, elephant pox, erysipeloid or erysipelas, fasciolasis, foot and mouth disease, Kashmir forest disease, leptospirosis. They all could be transmitted from one or the other kind of wild animal to the human being, to the people living in a particular territory or a country, or some infections are even cosmopolitan. Further, to continue the list, the listeriosis, the looping ill, the Lyme borreliosis, lymphocytic choriomeningitis, Russian spring summer encephalitis, pasteurellosis, plague, Q fever, they get either directly or indirectly transmitted to the human being. and different group of wild animals, they act as either the reservoir host or intermediary in the transmission of the that particular zoonotic infection. So as it is being mentioned here, rabies, salmonellosis, toxoplasmosis, trichinellosis, trichophytosis, trichostrongylidiosis, tuberculosis. Likewise, the list continues. This list is incomplete. Okay. The wild animal species, what I mean, the animal here means uh, either they are the ruminants or they are the rodents, or likewise birds also, they act as the source of zoonosis transmission to the human being. Of these birds, rather than the sedentary, it is the migratory birds that are very important in the transmission of the zoonotic infection to the human being. Some birds, they fly across the continents carrying either the infectious agent or the vector responsible for that transmission. One of the hypotheses that states that Russian summer spring encephalitis virus was carried by these migratory birds, and later on it settled in India, then Mysore state, today Karnataka, Kashmir forest area, and a variant of that today we find it as Kashmir forest disease. It's one of the hypotheses. The birds, when they fly, they carry the ticks, and whenever these ticks are dropped out, the infection will, again, the transmission cycles in the silver tick foci will continue. So Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever, again, one more tick-borne infection. The Q fever, directly transmitted or even tick-borne, and tularemia, the insect-borne infection. They all could be transmitted from the wild animals to the wild birds, in particular, to the human being. So there should be a close monitoring on these wild animals and the wild birds as a sentinels. So, for some of the zoonotic infections, the wild animal themselves act as the sentinel animals. So we need to undertake the sentinel surveillance or sentinel monitoring in order to look around the disease in that particular area. If at all we want to effectively manage these wildlife-borne infections, we need to undertake a strong capacity building involving the multi-stakeholding to educate them, to formulate the strategies to manage them in a long-term way, because managing the disease in the silver tick or the forest is a very difficult task. The complex transmission pathways, involvement of the huge number of the animals and the avian species, even aquatic animals, warm-blooded, cold-blooded, that makes the epidemiology of these infections very complex. We must understand all these factors so that they can be managed and the damage thereof will be mitigated. And when we achieve, this table depicts the management of the zoonosis affecting or benefiting the other sectors of the society, or in other words to say, benefiting the promotion of the eco-health. So the co-benefits are many. If you control a zoonotic infection, one way is that the trade is augmented. Second way, domestic animal health can be promoted. Public health is promoted. In addition to this, the biodiversity, conservation, all these activities, they will go hand in hand. So managing wildlife diseases, in particular zoonosis, is going to benefit in a larger perspective than actually the just mere disease control. However, this task is not simple, is not as simple as I have it has been depicted in this particular slide, or I have explained just now. Because as I told you, the complex sylvatic cycles we need to be understood in order to tackle the disease in a better way. So those things have to be understood through the ongoing translational research, intersectoral collaboration, multi-sectoral approach. All these public health goods must be used in order to achieve the freedom from the wildlife-borne zoonotic infections. The next category of the animals is the pet animals or the companion animals. There are several pet animals. Usually we keep the small animals which are very easy to handle as a pet animal, pet or the companion animals, and the range is very large. Okay, it starts with dogs and cats as the most popular animal, to the avian species, to very less commonly adopted are the animals which are petted. So that also includes the reptiles and the amphibians. So the range is very wide. So these pet animals, they cater the diverse needs of the society. So one way, the children, their growth, mental abilities, that's one thing. The other way is the management of the geriatrics, the psychosomatic disorders. So why these animals are going to play a very diverse role in the society. And when it comes to the management of these infections, we have to keep it in mind. The most vulnerable group that comes in contact with these pets is either the old people, geriatrics, or the young people who are not having the competent immune system. So old people, fading immune system. So they are at high risk of getting the infections because of the close proximity. The second important aspect associated with the petting is, or having the pet or the companion animals, is the increasing population of the immunocompromised individuals. Immunocompromised individuals, either due to the infection such as HIV/AIDS, or due to the anti-cancer immunosuppressive drug therapy, or due to the other immune compromising type of conditions, let it be the pollutants, residues, or environmental contaminations, whatever it is. So when the immunocompromised population increases, obviously these zoonotic infections will have a different paradigm of epidemiology that need to be understood. Likewise, the pet birds also. Large number of infections affect the pet birds. The list is again incomplete. It starts with ornithosis or the psittacosis, salmonellosis, tuberculosis, campylobacteriosis, influenza viruses, Newcastle disease, West Nile, Cryptosporidium, Cryptococcus neoforms, Aspergillus. The list is incomplete. Large number of teleomorphs or anamorphs of Candida are zoonotic in nature. So the pet birds, they play their own role in the transmission of these infections. You can see below the cartoon. This cartoon depicts the different transmission cycles of the avian influenza viruses, kinds of avian influenza viruses, even from the wild animals to the domestic animals to the birds, I mean to say. So to the pet birds, the infection can very well be spilled over, making the epidemiology very complex and putting the public health at risk. So we need to understand these diseases. For this, we need to have a strong surveillance and monitoring mechanism in place. The zoonotic infection that could be acquired through rabbits. Rabbits are very important because they are permitted as a farmed animal, and they are also lab animals, and they are pet or the companion animals also. Diverse role rabbit plays. There are two kinds of rabbits. One rabbit that is permitted to be farmed, and other animal, rabbit which is there in the wild. Wild animal is not permitted to be farmed. So these are different breeds of or strains of these rabbits that are different. So several kinds of zoonotic infections could be acquired through these rabbits. Say, for example, Pasteurella multocida, Salmonella, Yersinia, tularemia, Yersinia pseudotuberculosis, the mite infestations, the ringworm, Trichophyton mentographites that is mentioned here. So this is an incomplete list of the rabbit-borne zoonosis. Just to give an example, if a rabbit bites to its owner or the handler, there could be a cutaneous infection due to Pasteurella multocida. So these organisms, Pasteurella multocida like organisms, are carried as a natural inhabitants in the oral cavity, and whenever they bite, it would lead to this skin infection. This is a list. As we discussed, they could be transmitted to the humans. There are large number of zoonotic infections that could be transmitted from the rodents. Rodentia is a very large order in the Animalia. Okay, it includes the rats, mice, bandicoots. Likewise, the range is very big. Guinea pigs, gerbils. So these are all the rodents, and these rodents, they affect the human health because the rodents are there everywhere. Some animals are petted; they are the pet rodents. Otherwise, remaining all they occur as a nuisance animals. They breed in the garbage, in the urban or the local setups. In addition to this, there are some nocturnal kind of rodents. They will be visiting in night. So there are some feral animals. So rodents, by and large, they contaminate the environment and they carry large number of zoonotic infections that we'll study in subsequent slides. So they are important as a reservoirs of zoonotic infections or transmitter of the zoonotic infections, or acting as a host for the vectors that otherwise transmit the human infections or the zoonotic infections. The bites from the rodents, especially, they are very important. As I told you earlier, the Pasteurella maltosida-like organisms are the natural inhabitants of these rodents, and whenever they bite, that's going to induce a bite infection. Rat bite fever, Haverhill, or the Sudoku. So rats, they carry as a in their mouth the Streptobacillus moniliformis or Spirillum minus, nasopharynx. So whenever they bite, the infection tends to spread to the humans. Tularemia, rabbit fever, okay, caused by Francisella tularensis. Likewise, since rodents are warm-blooded, rabies, Yersiniosis, both Yersinia enterocolitica and pseudotuberculosis, especially guinea pigs, they are commonly affected. Campylobacteriosis is one more infection that could be acquired through these rodents. So again, these are few number of zoonotic infections. The list is huge. We'll discuss them as and when we discuss a particular zoonotic infection in detail. Plague, for example, flea-borne, rodent cycle, and human being accidental infection leading to the epidemics. Remember 1994 Surat plague, 2002 outbreak, 2004 infection in India, the plague occurrence. So the plague is omnipresent in India, and there are certain foci where the plague is endemic. Leptospirosis, large number of Leptospira serotypes, Leptospira interrogans balm, and other interrogans serovars. They are associated with the rodents. Rodents act as a carriers and they contaminate the environment, leading to the environmental contamination and human being getting either due to the occupational exposure or due to the heavy rainfall. Under such circumstances, outbreaks of leptospirosis can occur. The rodents act as source of infection to the human. Hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, or Korean hemorrhagic fever, again a rodent-borne infection. Cystodes such as Hymenopsis nana or Hymenopsis diminuta. These are the tapeworm infections that are very common in the children. In addition to this, we can get the certain acariosis from the contact with these rodents, especially in the children. See the list of the mouse-borne zoonosis: lymphocytic choreomeningitis, salmonellosis, pasteurellosis, yersiniosis, mycoplasmosis, rat bite fever, leptospira, these tapeworm infections, cryptosporidiosis, giardiosis, dermatophytes such as trichophyte and mentographites. Again, list is incomplete. So these are all the mouse-borne infections. So also is the case with the rats. Rats are there everywhere. Rats, public places, railway station, bus station. So in the granaries, so grain storage thing. So they all carry the large number of the zoonotic infection, and whenever encounters occur, either they will spill to the domestic animals or farmed animals or directly to the human being, depending on the case. Guinea pig is also known to suffer from salmonellosis. It is known to carry certain mites, certain dermatophytes, and these dermatophytes in due course of time could elicit a zoonotic disease process in the exposed individuals. Hamsters, so see the range, just like a rat and mice, they can carry these hamsters, they can carry the large number of the zoonotic infections. Gerbils, these are also again rodents. They are also known to carry good number of zoonotic infections. At some places, gerbils are also used as pets. At some places, they act as a destructive pests. So it goes by a particular type of gerbil that is used. Squirrels are there in the environment. Okay, so they are known to carry the large number of infections: rabies, pasteurellosis, rat pet fever, tularemia, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, plague, leptospirosis. This again, you can see there are other parasitic and mycotic zoonosis also that I have left to you to fill the gaps. Ferrets are invariably, they are not rodents. They look like rodent, but they are not rodent. Invariably, they are carnivorous mammals. They belong to the Mustelidae family, just like a weasel, and they do occur in domestic, in the sense the urban setups, because they are petted. They are the pet animals. At some places in the world, they are reared as the pet animals, ferrets. Okay, so large number of zoonotic infection ferrets can transmit to the humans: rabies, influenza, salmonella, campylobacter, cryptosporidias, tuberculosis, listeriosis. Large number of helminth and protozoan parasites and dermatophytes such as Microsporum canis and Trichopaton mentographites. These are all the infections that could be transmitted from the ferrets to the humans. This list that I just spoken. So in addition to the warm-blooded animals, so far we discussed about the pet animals, the birds, the rodents. They're all warm-blooded animals. So come to the cold-blooded animals. Cold-blooded animals such as fish, lizard, snake, toad, turtle, frog. These are all the cold-blooded animals whose metabolism is a bit different from the warm-blooded animals. They adjust to the temperature. Body temperature of these animals is adjusted to the environmental temperature. But even then, large number of zoonotic infections could be transmitted from these animals to the humans. These phyclotherms, such as marine fish, Erysipelathrix insidiosa, fish, the Clostridium species and Aeromonas species, the Listeria monocytogenes, Vibrio parahemolyticus, large number of Salmonella, even certain influenza viruses. So they can act as source of them. Snake can carry Leptospira. We'll study in subsequent slides about them. So the Edwardsia latarda, the Plesiomonas sigilloids, Yersinia enterocolytica, Mycobacterium marinum, Mycobacterium fortuitum, Mycobacterium plati, Polsitis, Burkholderia pseudomallei. So in addition to this, certain pentastomate parasitic infestation, Erysipelathrix insidiosa. So these are all some of the zoonotic agents. Some are viruses, some are bacteria, some are protozoa, some are the helminth parasites. They could be acquired through these cold-blooded animals. This is a list. Again, this is again an indicative list. It is not an exhaustive list. You can see Dactyphima, Gnathostoma, Listeria, Salmonella, Sparganosis, Acanthocephali, Anisakiasis, cholera, Clonarchis, Diphyllobothriasis, Apistorchiasis, Paragonymiasis. These are all the zoonotic organisms that could be transmitted from these cold-blooded animals to the human, either through the ingestion or through the contact or through the contamination of the food and water. Zoonosis that could be acquired from turtles, the list is Salmonella, especially Salmonella Hartford, Yersinia, Campylobacter, and Aeromonas. Snakes, in addition to the one that are there for turtles, the pentastomates also can be. So in not only this, the good number of the hibernating animals, especially, they are involved in the epidemiology of the good number of zoonotic infections. The example is the classical influenza viruses. So in addition, other infectious agents also, they could be transmitted. The blank tables are left to you readers to fill the blanks. Lizards, again, one more cold-blooded animal: Salmonella, Yersinia, Edwardsia latarda, Plesiomonas, and pentastomates. Fish, large number of mycobacteriosis. Some more than 20 mycobacterial species are known to be in cold-blooded animals: Erysipelathrix insidiosa and Melioidosis. Okay, Burkholderia species also, they could be there in the fish, and human being can get these organisms whenever human being comes in contact with these fish due to handling or due to consumption. So These diverse group of animals, they play a varied role depending on the type of organism, and they act as source of infection to the human being, or as I told you, like if it is accepted, the SARS-CoV-2 through an intermediary animal, domestic or wild. So through them, they will spill to the human being, then later on settling in the human populations and creating catastrophes. So this is what is the case that is true with even Middle East respiratory syndrome, earlier SARS, coronavirus 1, and likewise the influenza viruses. So these pandemics all originated from the wild animals, uh, and they had an intermediary animal in between, and they spilled to the human being. So we need to understand the better pathogenesis of them. We have to undertake the required research and development to understand their sylvatic foci so that we can manage them in the effective way. So this is all about the today's class, that is the role of different kinds of animals in the transmission of the zoonosis. Thank you.